Mr. Hand, I don't want to become psychic. I don't want to. I don't want to.
But why not, Mr. Bill? Once you become psychic, the whole world opens up to your new sight.
I don't want to see anymore. I like thinking that I'm in control. I don't want to get divine guidance. Please, Mr. Hand, no.
I'm sorry, Mr. Bill, but it's time. Ooh, ooh.
Oh, well, everything looks so different. Well, my third eye, it makes everything look so, well, it's just different.
That's because you've never used your third eye before, Mr. Bill.
Oh no, I know what this means. Now I'm going to have to follow divine guidance. Ah!
No! Now my life's become one big roller coaster because I'm psychic. No! Okay, so why is it that we're all afraid of psychic ability? I know I was a long time ago. Well, not that long ago. It was probably 6 years ago. I was producing a video for a psychic named Echo Bodine, and she offered to give me a reading, and I said, no, thank you, don't want a reading. Of course, only about 6 or 7 months later, I myself became psychic. So I was very resistant to the idea of getting a psychic reading, and I was also resistant to the idea of getting any psychic ability. Unfortunately, this stuff kind of happens without you. The thing is, it can either be, I think, a soft ride or an easy ride, or you can be initiated into it in a bumpy way. When it's your time to really open up psychically and allow your vision to become fuller and more complete, the guides come and get you. And that's part of the reason, I mean, over and over again, I like to do the analogy of the roller coaster ride. Once you let go of all of your control mechanisms, pretty soon you're on a wild divine ride. As I've said earlier, a friend of mine calls divine insane. And there's something to be said for that, because it doesn't care. Divine does not care what people think. Divine does not care what society wants you to do. Divine wants you to have your highest, greatest good. And a lot of times that can be completely opposite of what we've been told. If you are someone who gets images, has very vivid dreams, and then sometimes those dreams become reality, you're telling the future, you're having impressions that later prove to be correct, you probably have abilities coming to the forefront. You may have been experiencing them all along, or suddenly you're opening up psychically. I opened up psychically on the verge of my, I think, 39th birthday, and started talking to ghosts, started hearing angels, and you know, I could confirm it. It wasn't this la la airy fairy thing. I got very exact information about people, and I was so naive about it that I would tell them, you know, I wouldn't really be asked for the information. I would just say, hey, did you know your grandma knitted you that red and white baby outfit and blah 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 blah, and she did it because she really loved you at the time, and she helped you buy your latest house. And I've had people go, I don't know what you're talking about, and then 2 weeks later I had a neighbor say, you know, my mother and I were looking through our stuff and we found a red and white knitted baby outfit that this woman had had as a child. And I was taking a drama class at one time, and I was telling people in the class, I was giving them psychic information. Well, you know, when you calm down about being psychic, you eventually calm down about telling everybody things that you're getting about them. And eventually you don't even want the information, trust me. I mean, for myself, I just now at this point, I turn off my psychic ability when I walk into a room. The only thing is I just ask my guides to alert me if there's something I need to know for myself. Now, it's a different situation if you're doing professional readings. Obviously, that's when you open up and people are asking for the information. If you're somebody who's psychic and people are leaning on you for psychic information, you need to get yourself supported, because it takes a lot of energy to be a psychic for other people. And one of the things I look for is, are people willing to get information for themselves? Are they willing to calm down a little bit, do what they need to do to get on their own path? I believe ultimately all of us are called to a higher authority and higher responsibility to have a direct hookup with divine. And that includes, you know, emotional trust of your divine power, divine higher self, of, you know, the magic of the universe, trusting that God's providing, trusting that you can actually hear beings talking to you from a higher vibrational level. And when you begin to open up, when things start showing up for you, and I don't care what they are, I mean, it may be you're seeing ghosts, you may be hearing from your guides, and you may be hearing from some undesirable entities. That will happen too. If you're an open person and you already have an innate psychic ability, these people want to talk. I mean, beings from other realms want to connect, and sometimes they're not always of, you know, the highest vibration. And that's, again, when you want to do your energy protection practices. And if you're asking for guidance and information, qualify it by saying, I want to speak with beings of highest consciousness. That's what I did very early on. I would reset my intention that I only wanted to speak with beings of highest consciousness. Sometimes darkness comes in, sometimes a dark part of yourself will flare and attract something to yourself, but it's not really anything to be super afraid of. It's because it's up to you to say, no, I'm not doing this, and creating a circle of protection around yourself. I think that that's one of the other reasons people are afraid of psychic ability. They're afraid of seeing darkness. But I mean, darkness is just part of the continuum, you know, light's here, dark's here, and then, you know, there's some middle ground. And you know, when you open yourself up psychically, you begin to learn that it's not all quote unquote black and white. There's different, you know, shades on the spectrum. And when you encounter what you feel is something that's not good, not healthy, not pleasant, you just tell the universe you want more protection, you want this thing healed or moved out of your life. I mean, some of this comes up for good reasons. It's places that you need to heal. I certainly don't know of anybody who's taken this journey who hasn't had a lot of challenges. Wherever you're most resistant to letting in divine and resistant to letting go of control, that's usually where you'll have a flare. If you're a money control freak, you may go broke. Or if you are an absolute relationship control freak, you may lose that relationship. Divine wants in, and it's not willing to have your ego set the terms. And so a lot of times things will fall apart, things will seem to unravel, and that's when you hit the roller coaster ride. However, you do eventually get off the roller coaster ride and maybe you get onto a different ride. I don't know if it's a tilt-a-whirl or what the analogy is, but it's probably a gentler ride. But it's where you release your control and you let someone else be in the driver's seat. Now, ultimately, I think we've all set up an agreement. Our higher self, our soul, has set up an agreement to have a certain kind of life and be able to make certain choices. So I don't think you're ever actually completely giving up control, but you are relegating it to a more spiritual realm, to a higher plane, so that your ego and your brain aren't completely in control and in charge. And in fact, they never were in the first place. That's the trick. So, I mean, Mr. Bill's right to resist, absolutely. But in the end, God does come through. And when you clear out all those places where you're not allowing divine to have a say and have its way, the darkness dissipates and the light comes in. And that really sets you on the path to a big hookup with your angels and God.